Russia recently carried out its annual nuclear forces exercises involving multiple practice launches of ballistic and cruise missiles. This comes as Ukraine asks for more air defense systems. Tom Karako is the director of the Missile Defense Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Tom, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
So these nuclear exercises are annual. Russia notified the U.S. in advance. Is there anything to be worried about here?
Well, they are a regular occurrence, as you say. I think it's as much as anything an effort to just display Russia's capabilities. The context, one can't, of course, lose the context here, namely the nuclear threats, the nuclear kind of saber rattling that Russia has been making about Ukraine and, frankly, some of its other neighbors as they suffer tactical losses in Ukraine on the battlefield. So I think it's important to put it in context, but frankly, this is why the United States and NATO has the nuclear posture it does and the nuclear capabilities. This isn't anything new, in other words, and this is why a conservative posture on nuclear deterrence is what we in NATO have had for many years.
I want to ask you about those drone attacks from the Iranian-made kamikaze drones, and those have been targeting civilians and infrastructure. U.S. officials have viewed the wreckage of those drones that were used. What are they trying to learn from that wreckage?
Well, it's fascinating. The fact that Russia has turned to Iran, it's this new axis of evil here in the Ukraine conflict, I think really has had the unexpected consequence of shifting some alliances. And Israel, which has been on the fence for so long in this conflict, seems to be getting involved. They'd like to be doing some target practice, as well as fundamentally getting some intel on this Iranian technology in case they should face it someday. So a lot of civilians being targeted. I will say this past week, the Biden administration released not merely its nuclear posture review, but also a new missile defense review. And countering UAVs like this, like they are being used in Ukraine right now, is really a singular highlight of that review. This is part of air defense. You see the demand signal in Ukraine for all types of air and missile defense, and that demand signal is going to be here to stay.
So what's that going to mean for the strategy? I mean, you said it's being highlighted. So what are you recommending to the Pentagon?
Well, the fact that the strategy recognized that countering UAVs is a fundamental part of air defense is going to have all manner of organizational and acquisition impacts. The U.S. Army is the lead service for this mission, has been for several years now, and they've kind of been winnowing down what are the key capabilities that we can get. And really the demand signal here is enormous. They just can't get enough capability out fast enough. And so, put the Iranian drone and all these other kinds of air and missile threats in Ukraine in context. The Ukrainians are just, yelling from the rooftops for any air defense they can get. It doesn't have to be, exquisite. It doesn't have to be perfect. They just want more of it. You're going to see a similar, and I would say sustained demand signal here in the United States. We've seen this coming for years now. Witness the 2019 Iranian attacks on Saudi Arabia, for instance, and likewise the handful of attacks in Iraq and around the Middle East, just on a regular basis. We've seen this coming. It's here, and this is really going to require really the entire joint force that has taken air superiority for granted for so many years. They have to now start looking up and worrying about this. That's what we're seeing in Ukraine, and that's going to be coming to a theater near you elsewhere as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about air defense. There have been reports that the U.S. is considering sending Hawk air defense missile systems to Ukraine. Describe that. What benefit would that have to Ukraine, and is that the best system for their needs?
Well, as I said a moment ago, the best shouldn't be the enemy of the good. And the Ukrainians that are really being put in a situation of picking up a rifle and shooting at these Iranian drones, again, they'll take anything. The United States just passed over a couple batteries of what's called NASAMS. That's actually a capability that defends Washington, D.C. It's a Norwegian-made capability, actually. The Hawk system is a little bit of an older thing. And Spain has been actually working to give some old Hawk systems. It's a predecessor to the Patriot, actually. So it's been around for a while. Now, there are some conflicting reports about what exactly the U.S. is doing on the Hawk side. But there's again, everybody is scrounging in the couch cushions, finding anything that will be useful to shoot at, to deter, to combat everything from drones to fixed and rotary wing aircraft to cruise missiles and up. So no, Hawk is a little bit of a museum piece relative to other things, but we've taken air superiority for granted for so many years, and we can't just flip a light switch and come up with lots of this stuff overnight. So it's a little bit of a tragedy. These are the wages of not having enough air defense for the United States, for Europe. All of Europe is really, I would say, casting about and trying to figure out how do they get more of this stuff. And likewise, anybody in harm's way in the vicinity of China is asking those same questions.
And just as we wrap up, I'm wondering, is air defense the most pressing need Ukraine has right now? And how else can the United States support that war effort?
Yeah, so there's two basic things that you keep hearing Ukraine talk about and really ask for. One is air defenses, missile defenses of any kind that they'll take. They're getting Hawks from Spain, what's called Iris-T from Germany, handful of other things here and there. The second big category is fires, which is to say howitzers, artillery, rockets, and that sort of thing. And the U.S. supplied HIMARS and a handful of other artillery systems from Europe and elsewhere. That's really a key enabler to give the Ukrainian ground forces standoff and the ability to really pummel and to force the Russians into retreat. Now, offensive missiles and defensive missiles, this is an outsized importance in Ukraine. It's also, by the way, where you're seeing just a whole lot of modernization and investment on the part of the U.S. military, the U.S. Army, and DoD-wide.
And we're out of time. Tom, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.